Hello and welcome. In this short video, we'll see a demo of how to address risk-based testing for SAP. What we'll see is impact in action. We'll see how we can analyze changes. This could be for major updates or minor projects, or even run and maintain. And then what we'll see, the outcome, is we'll get the test coverage with our testing platform. We'll automatically identify test cases that match the changes being made by the transports, and then we can automatically execute those test cases from the tool. The other thing we'll do is we'll identify risk and testing gaps. We can verify the gaps between your current test library and changes made based on use. Here I have Certify Impact. What I'm going to do is actually create a new impact analysis. So I'll start a new analysis and I'll give it a name. And enter my email address for notifications. I'll identify the SAP system I want to analyze. What we find is most people import their analysis into a QA system first, and then identify the transport. From the transport perspective, I can use an actual transport name, part of a transport name, owner or description, and give it a date range. What happens is in the background, we've pre-analyzed all transports as they enter into the system. What this means is that there's a database of all the transport analysis that's already happened, and we query it. This dramatically increases performance. From here I can see there's multiple transports names that have 900,451 in them. I can pick one or multiple of them. In this case, I'm going to pick the VA01 sales order change. What the analysis does is it looks at all the transactions, say VA01, VA02 over here, the programs, and then the objects associated with them. What we've done is we've overlaid the STO3 usage data with them. So most people replicate their production STO3 usage into their QA environment. So when they do their transport analysis, they can see all of these things together. When I click Next, what happens is we'll query our Certify Test Automation library. I've got multiple projects and folders. In this case, I'm interested in my functional tests. So what I want to do is overlay what I've found from the transport, has the T codes, the programs, the objects, and verify that with the functional tests. What happens is we start doing an analysis here. When you build an automated test of, say, SAP GUI with Certify, we see the actual fields you've interacted with, but we also know their origin of the fields. So we understand what program, object, and T code those fields are associated with. Therefore, we can overlay the transport analysis with the actual data behind the input fields. It's not like a simple UI test where we see there's a change to a text field. We actually understand the origin of the data itself. Now that the analysis has been completed, we can see what our test coverage is. So one important thing to understand when you have a change in transport of SAP is, do I actually have physical regression or functional test automation? In this case, I can see I have different programs in my functional test library. I can see the number of T codes covered, and I also see the STO3 usage. So it looks like for the most popular transaction according to STO3, we do have coverage here. So it makes me feel good that I can actually run the correct set of tests or subset of tests to cover the functionality in this transport. The next thing I'll do is actually analyze to see where my risk is. What I want to do is actually associate my transports with the T code, program, and objects. They do not have automated test cases. This will actually be my risk. Now I've come to my final test coverage page. This is the interesting part. What I can see is the transports and programs but I see here I have VA33 with a use count of 23. What this is telling me is that VA23 is in my transport, but I do not have automated tests for it. So this is a risk for me. So if I'm looking at the risk of this transport going to production, all of my other transactions that I'm using, I could see have test coverage, but this is a gap. So maybe I need to do a manual test on this, or we'll actually add an automated test to cover this. My final step is the schedule running of this. So right now I have a list of my transports that are changing, the objects, programs, and T-codes. I've then created a specific set of tests to be run. This covers most of my transports except for one, the VA33. Now the key is I want to schedule this to run. So in my case, I may schedule it to run, say, Saturday morning at 5:40 a.m. So what this allows me to do is say I want to actually run my full regression on Saturday for this transport. So when I come into the office on Monday, I have a good picture of what's happened. I've analyzed the transport to see what's changing. I've then overlaid the test coverage, scheduled those tests to run, and then I know that I do have one risk with VA33, that there was a change to it. Only 23 people used it, but there's a small change. I need to actually run a manual test or add that to my regression library.